All right. My name is Jessica Gilligan. I'm one of the board members. I want to welcome you all to the town hall, and thanks for everyone showing up really on time. We're starting a little bit early. This is great. Next. What you know next? Okay, stand by. Technical difficulties. Nothing like practicing and then it not working. The mouse isn't even working. Try maybe? I don't know. Yeah, like the mouse isn't clicking. Oh gosh, that's weird. Okay, hang on a second. I'll stop the share and see if that does anything. A little better. Okay, now the mouse is working. Now it's letting it go. Where's the Zoom? There it is. Thanks for hanging in there. Okay. Do we have confirmation that you can see the screen? All right. That little guy over there. Press present again. Now the arrows are working. Can you see the little thing at the bottom? Okay. All right. Now we're starting on time. So we just want to say thank you for being here in person or on Zoom. We had over 100 people register, which is really a show that everyone's really excited to hear answers about what's happening and get a grocery store here in Hillsborough soon. The bathrooms for those of us who are here in person are back this way, so you can go out that door, and then they're over here. Feel free to get up and use them at any time. We're really casual. And then please hold your questions until the end. We had a bunch of survey questions that were sent in that we're answering most of during the presentation. And then we'll leave some time at the end. Hopefully we get through all the slides and we'll be able to do some questions here in person. All right. So this is our agenda. This was sent out earlier today, just so you guys know what we're going over. We're going to talk about the co-op fundamentals, like what a co-op is, very briefly, what Fresh Foods is, and how the partnership is going to work together. And then the exciting stuff, what's next? And for our speakers tonight, we have our president of our board of directors. We are all volunteers, and Alyssa decided she's going to be the one to take the scary title of president, so we appreciate that about her. We have a couple other board members in the room too, if you want to wave on the front. I love this. And some other amazing volunteers here as well. And then our other speaker is Jonathan Welsh from Fresh Foods. All right, we're going to kick it off. Here you go, Alyssa.
Thank you so much. I know every time I get up and speak to our owners, I always say thank you, but this slide is really just to kind of recognize some of the reasons that we're so thankful, and every day it feels like we're getting closer and closer. And so truly, I want to say thank you, because every information session you come to, every volunteer event you come to, even just telling a friend about hey, I heard about the co-op, all of that is making a huge difference, and it's really snowballing. Our momentum is growing, and so we are just so grateful. I've only been working on the board and volunteering for a handful of years now, probably about 4. There's other people that have been around since the very beginning for all 10 years, and so really hats off to everybody from 10 years ago and from yesterday that is coming out to support us. All right, next slide. Our goal here tonight is to answer questions, so I'm going to try to speed through slides as much as I can. If I'm going too fast, please just put your hand up and I'll slow it down a little bit. But I wanted to just point out that our goal tonight is to answer the information, or give you the information to respond to the questions that were asked in the survey, and also open up the floor for some additional questions at the end, should we have time. 50 people responded to the survey, which is awesome. We had some repeat themes. And we plan to also update the website FAQ with information that you're hearing tonight, and then hopefully Any of the questions that don't get answered, we will post there as well. And you're always welcome to come to outreach meetings where you can get similar information or just get more involved. Next slide. So here's a little infographic that had some, repeating themes from the survey, and it's always fun to throw up and see what people were thinking about and writing about. You can see partnership is a huge one, so we're definitely going to address that tonight. All right, next slide. We did find out that a few people had no idea what a co-op was. I'm sure that many of you do, but just to make sure everyone's on the same page, we're going to have a quick co-op 101 primer. It is not a nonprofit. That is a misconception that some people have. It's actually a cooperatively community-owned store. The goal is to make profit, contrary to your instincts, but we do want to make profit because a lot of that money gets reinvested back into the ownership, into the community, into other programs. So, nonprofit, while similar, is definitely not what we are. Each owner has a vote and receives benefits. Those are still in the works of what the specific benefits would be for Hillsborough Food Co-op. But it's a grocery store that everyone can shop at, not just owners. But being an owner, of course, will benefit you more. But the store is open to everyone. And at this point, all of the behind the scenes work has been done by volunteers for the most part. So at times the ball rolls slowly. When we're low on volunteers, things don't get done as quickly, but we are now getting much closer to a finish line. We have a partner that is working with us and things are speeding up. So it's an awesome time to get involved. Oh, it did change. Okay. Our co-op vision is that, and this is clearly stated on our website, so in case you want to ever go back and read a little bit more about this, but it's a community-owned grocery store providing thoughtfully selected products, connecting shoppers to our local food system, and strengthens our community. Go ahead. Here's our current board of directors. As you can see, we have 4 positions currently open. So if you or anyone you know is interested in joining this really fun group of people, definitely reach out tonight. You can email us info@hillsboroughfood.coop. We would love to have your application. We'd love to have your time and energy.
You could be a radish or a broccoli.
You could. And here's just some photos of our events in 2025. Shout out to all the volunteers that made it happen, especially Serge and Nicole in the back there. They spend so much of their time working with the co-op, making the markets happen, helping behind the scenes at events. And these are some of the really awesome events that we did. Quick recap, we had 75 new owners last year, 63 volunteers, 26 events and markets, and 331 event attendees. It's a good year for us. Now that we've entered the partnership and we're about to start on block 67 construction, the store feels like it's happening, like it's right around the corner. So, we want to talk a little bit more about growing volunteers, filling our board of director roles, and we really want to gain 250 new owners this year. That will be extremely beneficial to us when we do our capital campaign. The research and the statistics from all the co-ops that have opened in the past shows that the more owners you start with, the more successful your capital campaign is. So if you're here tonight and you're not yet an owner, this is a really great chance to join. The store is becoming a reality. If you have friends or family that have been talking about it, definitely give them that little nudge, push them over the edge. All right, so I want to go ahead and answer a couple of the survey questions that were directed directly to the board. I know we had a couple questions about, partnership, a couple questions for fresh foods. These are some of the ones that we cherry picked out to answer from the board specifically. What are the long-term sustainability plans for this partnership beyond initial funding? The plans are that we continue to run a store and have a successful store, in short. Initial funding, I'm taking to mean our capital campaign. I'm not sure if that's how the person meant this question, but we will be doing a capital campaign push, which will raise hopefully, millions of dollars perhaps. And that money will go towards the construction and the build out of the store. Once we begin to open and operate, the plans are that we would have our partner, we would be operating the store as a grocery store. The proceeds would be split between our partner and the co-op, and then we would proceed as normal. We would have complete autonomy and discretion over those funds that we make that are earmarked for us, our owners would continue to have a vote and a say. We would still have a board of directors. And I think, in terms of sustainability, I think that part of the question is also asking, do we think the partnership is going to last? That's kind of what came to my mind when I hear the word sustainability. And I think that Fresh Foods has proven to be a very strong partner so far. They're very knowledgeable. They have 3 stores already. So my projection, and again, I'm not a business expert, but my projection is that, we're going to have a successful grocery store and we'll just continue to operate into hopefully eternity. So hopefully that answers the question. I think it's, it's not that we were doing this initial funding push and then we would either drop the partnership or that HFC would disappear. Like neither one of those are the goal. It's to operate the store together. What do you see as the co-op board's role in the future direction of the store? I think it would be very similar to any co-op board's role. The board is never, directly responsible for the day-to-day operations of the store. The store hires a general manager. The board is never directly responsible for picking every single product in the store. Generally speaking, the board ensures that the votes and the opinions and the desires of the ownership is being followed and met. So when we hold annual meetings and we take feedback, the board analyzes that feedback and talks about the direction of where our spending might go. We'll still hold elections. We'll still advertise for those roles and positions. We may still have volunteer roles that we'll be recruiting for. And so hopefully that answers that question. I don't think, I think there is a misconception a little bit that every single owner in a co-op has a lot of say over every little decision day to day, or that the board has a lot of say. Generally speaking, we try to gather feedback from the owners and the board makes recommendations on directions to go. So it'll be much the same. We'll have a partner. So we'll be discussing, with our partners, how we can make these decisions together. And we also envision some type of joint committee, most likely, that will be comprised of Fresh Foods representatives and HFC representatives. And that might overlap with board members, or it might be separate people. But either way, the board would be in charge of making sure that those positions are filled and those obligations are met. What communication channels we use to keep members informed? I think that's a really great question. And I think this is something that will evolve over time. None of us have actually served on a board with an open store yet, so we don't know exactly how that will go. Luckily, there's a lot of co-ops that have successfully opened, are successfully running, and they are part of a greater network called FCI, Food Co-op Initiative, and they actually host a ton of virtual conferences and learning sessions. And so we plan to learn from other co-ops to find out how they're doing this. But I also suspect that we'll try to use the same types of communication that we've been using, and hopefully just find a way to push them out to a greater audience. We've been using social media. We've been having a lot of increased response on social media, thanks in part to Jessica and Annika, who have been, really ramping up the posts and making them more colorful and informative. And so that's, I think, a really great way to communicate these days. But we will also probably continue to send email newsletters. And then in store, there will probably be a type of communication there as well. I know we have, brainstormed and talked about things like physical newsletters that are printed in the store, and, different activities and schedules that are things that are going on at the store. So that's pretty much what I would envision. We have been testing out text messages as well this year. Some of you may be on the opt-in list and have received a text message from us. So we'll probably continue to try that avenue as well, of course, with the option to opt out if needed. Next. All right, here's some examples of, you may recall from a few slides ago that the HFC owner benefits are still sort of in the TBD stage and evolving. Here's an example. We have 2 different co-ops that we're going to highlight here to kind of see what other co-ops have done, and we most likely will have something similar to this. So why join the co-op? This is a flyer from Snow Isle Food Co-op in Everett, Washington. This opened in 1997, so it's been around for a while. They have a lot of shoppers. They have a lot of owners, and we can aspire to one day reach the number of ownership members that they have. But the things that they benefit from, their owners, they save money on certain deals, discounts. They get to vote in the annual election. There's discounts on case orders. They get an annual patronage dividend, provided that there are profits that year, and annual meeting. And I would assume that they could also run for the board of directors. That's typically the case. All right, next slide. Astoria Food Co-op. You get $20 off when you join. Again, discounts and deals, communications, including email updates, annual meeting invite, and you can vote on the board of directors and run for the board yourself. So these are just a couple examples, something that we would probably fall in line closely with. And who knows, maybe we'll come up with something else exciting and creative and new. Also, throughout the country, there's been a lot of recent co-op success, which gives us some encouragement. It feels really good to be at the same stage as other people and see other stores that have just been able to open as well. So it's really motivating. We've got Michigan, Illinois, Virginia, and California.
The Suncoast Market in California is opening on 131. That's a typo, but it's really fun to look at their Instagram and Facebook because they're like about to open, and everyone's just really excited. I'm really excited for them.
And you can also find other co-ops using this QR code. If anyone is interested, you can go ahead and just snap a picture with your phone. But this is a good place to get a lot of other information, and especially if you're traveling and you want to check out some other co-ops. I think as an owner, I think that's a really good thing to do. See how other co-ops are operating and bring fresh ideas back home with you. That's awesome. All right.
Oh no.
And this is what the website looks like. And before we talk about how the partnership will work, we're going to have John come up from Fresh Foods, and he's going to give a little bit of a spiel about Fresh Foods, some of the background information, and a little bit of information about their business and philosophies. So please welcome John.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for having me tonight. Like Alyssa said, this is the opportunity to have a beautiful partnership moving forward so that we can accomplish mutual goals. Just a little bit about Fresh Foods. We've been in business 26 years. It's been 26 years of constant change, which we think we all know is the only absolute in life. But it's brought us to a certain set of criteria that we run our business by, and that's our mission, vision, and values, and the KPIs that we determine success with. And as we've grown and we've understood the challenges that come with the current marketplace, we think some of those lessons learned, we can alleviate you guys going through those pain points from minute one. So that's the real advantage that we want to bring to the co-op. It's not that we want to direct what the co-op's mission is in terms of how they want to execute the store. We want to help them execute what their mission is. And doing so, we have the experience that, per se, if they say, we want all organic produce, we can tell you the right vendor to go to that's going to get you the best selection. You won't have to learn that lesson by going to 3 different vendors and listen to 3 different tales of oh, we have the best and we're going to get you the best deal. We've already felt that pain. So we've got 3 locations. Currently, we are out on the coast in all 3 environments. And to be honest, in some upper end resort type environments, it creates a very seasonal business. And that is one of the answers to one of the questions of why we want to do this. What's in it for Fresh Foods? We would like to have a business that is more stable year round. And that's why with some of our expansion points, we've looked at coming over here into more rural Washington County, Yamhill County. So our story is my dad moved to Nehalem, Oregon in 1997 and opened a 3,000 square foot, didn't open it, purchased it, and it was a dilapidated 3,000 square foot grocery store in the town of Manzanita. At the time, it was a small, very small town. It's not the Manzanita that we all know today as one of the hot spots in tourism. But he grew that business from minute one. And I was serving in the military at the time, got tired of going overseas in my line of work and in doing that line of work and decided I was going to move back to quiet 600 resident Manzanita and live a quiet life running a 3,000 square foot grocery store. Well, two things. One, the building was falling down on top of my head. And then two, I had that little ambition thing. So things kind of aligned, and I partnered with my brother, and we ended up expanding the business in 2011 into a bigger format store. And then 2016, the opportunity came from John Zupan to buy some property in Cannon Beach that he hadn't developed, and we ended up developing the Cannon Beach store in 2016. Then our latest venture, a gentleman by the name of Casey Roloff, who started the town of Seabrook, Washington from brick one, approached us and said, "Hey, I'm getting to that size where I need I need a grocery operator to come in here and ditch our mini mart model and get us a supermarket." So we partnered with him. So I can tell you we are very well versed in partnering with somebody and making it work. There's a lot of give and take, but at the end of the day, it's all about accomplishing the mission that both sides want to achieve. So over the years, we've really worked on morphing our product selection to probably more align with what the co-op wants. And so that's another lesson learned that we've learned is how to execute that. It's great and ambitious to say, hey, we want to get the local farmer's product in here, but do you understand the cost that comes with that? And some of those challenges that come with that when you have preservative-free foods, all those things. But with that being said, we've made a lot of local great partnerships out on the coast, as many as we can potentially trace down. I always use the example, we had 4 great local egg vendors within 5 miles of the Manzanita store that we were supporting their farms. One of those farms was actually just featured on the news the other day with a tragic accident where they lost their flock. But we were one of their customers and probably their best customer. So we know kind of how that works. And not only can we help them, but we can advise them on where their price point needs to be to sell more product, to make their businesses more viable and their farms more successful, as well as achieving what we need to achieve on our side of the house with the gross profit that we need to generate. But as you can see, it's more than just eggs. It's milk, it's granola, it's candies. It goes throughout the whole spectrum. And we have that little microcosm out on the coast that we're able to achieve that in. That's where we look at the partnership with a co-op. You guys, everybody involved knows a heck of a lot more vendors than we do out here that are looking for a place to get their product in brick and mortar. And they don't have the opportunity to go and do that at the big stores. And that's where we come in, and that's what we're looking for. We want product with a story behind it. We want to know it's supporting the smaller producer and their families. So that's very important to us. In terms of kind of where we talked about those values and the vision for the business, profit has never been the giant motivator to us. As I've grown the business, we've been leveraged extensively throughout that time, and it's all about providing the community aspect. The biggest thing that we do as a grocery store where we're located is we serve the community. That is the best part of the job, is interacting daily. And I've had the opportunity to do it in 3 towns where I've got to move in, meet everybody in the community, get to know them, and become friends with them and find out what their needs are, what their wants are. We're providing them the food a lot of times that they eat on a daily basis. And that's very important, more so than the profit-driven side of the house. Are there bills that have to be paid? Absolutely. Welcome to business and Econ 101. That's just facts. And that's one of those things that's very important to us in the partnership, is making sure that the co-op's going to understand that Econ 101 that's involved with grocery. Because it's obviously a unique environment with razor thin margins, and little mistakes can mean big problems down the road. We want to alleviate that. In terms of our charitable giving, we are very involved in all of our local communities out there, from Seabrook, where we have a ton of charitable giving with the tribe up there, which is one of the most oppressed native tribes in the Pacific Northwest, to out in Manzanita, where I run the youth sports program, have for 12 years. We're the biggest donor to that. We provide all the uniforms. We're heavily involved with the schools and subsidizing their backpack programs that the kids take home food for on the weekend to make sure that they're, getting the nourishment that they need. It goes on and on. There's a couple of foundations out there. A lot of it is more, related to the youth out there because that's the disadvantaged, I would say, lower income blue collar families. All the retirees in Manzanita have usually been well to do that they can afford the beach houses out there. And that's, so we don't really focus on some of those things. It's more the people that need it. So when we talk about, when we split these profits, obviously the co-op's going to have its desire of where it wants to do its charitable things, but we will probably be there to back up those same exact causes and double down on them. So going back, I kind of alluded to some of these answers, but what's in it for us to partner with HFC? Well, to be purely honest, transparency is one of our values. Is we were approached by Hillsborough to do this project ourselves. When Tim and Brandon came to us and proposed a potential partnership, so the co-op could get launched, we thought, you know what, that's an even better idea, because we could bring in a potential customer base, whether it was hundreds or thousands that already exist, especially as a new entity coming into this area. We're not proven. Most people don't know us, even though my brother is a teacher and coach at Glencoe down the road. But we saw that advantage of that. The other side is, as I'm looking to scale our business, it's very expensive to open a grocery store. The tenant improvements and inventory alone is millions. So if the co-op could come in with some capital, that would, to be honest, allow me the opportunity to go chase another opening somewhere else and provide another smaller town with a grocery store that needs it, like I said, out here in one of the more rural towns. That's what we're really looking to do. So that's why we really wanted the partnership, and we looked forward that we could both have a mutually beneficial experience with this. It's a good idea from a ton of standpoints from both sides, but one of them really is that financial thing that I talked about, and just to be real with everybody so they understand. When you go to the bank as an entity, if you don't have proven numbers, you're not getting a loan. Loan to value is usually 80-20, that you're going to have to come in with equity. I know the co-op was looking at potentially doing its own stand-up site at some point. That means they were going to have to come with 20% down. But the bad news is most banks aren't going to lend them the other 80%. They don't have any proven financials. Nobody on the board probably ran a grocery store. So those are some of the things we really thought, hey, we can step in. I've got $5.5 million of SBA money that I can go tap tomorrow. We just cleared our balance sheet as Fresh Foods so that we could get postured to do some expansion, primarily this Hillsborough project. So we can come with that money and that cash tomorrow. So those are like I talked about going back to Econ 101, those are some of the realities of dealing with the lending and banking world, especially in grocery, where they will be down to the gnat on you because it's such a razor thin margin. And I'm sure if you guys are familiar with the grocery scene, the independent small grocery store is dying. Most of the operators are older. They don't have succession plans in place. It's a tough business. If you don't know what you're doing, it's very easy to go out of business really quick. And to that point, one of the things that we're constantly doing at some of our sites is we go to the auction sites, because that's where you go get the cheap equipment from that's basically brand new, because somebody just closed down after 18 months in business. And that's just the harsh reality of this industry. How will this store be different? We kind of talked about all that product selection. Fresh Foods does not seek to drive what the store is going to be. We want the co-op to do that. We want them to give us the direction, and then we will figure out how to make that succeed. We want that eclectic mix of product. We want local. We want fresh. But we want high quality too. But what the challenges for the board will be is, hey, Some of those things are great, but they come with a premium. How are we going to support maybe some of our clientele that's not in that demographic and that needs some of the commodity items? I don't want to make those decisions. We'll leave those to the board to do that, and the co-op to give us their input on how that wants or what they want out of that. It could mean we carry both. We have the upper end and we have, the commodity grocery. We don't have a problem with that. We do that in our stores currently. It's all great and dandy to sell Snake River Wagyu tenderloins. We love selling that, at $36 a pound. But at the same time, we have to sell, some choice grade beef, petite sirloin, so that our blue collar families that are loggers and fishermen out there have something to buy that's affordable, because we want to keep them in our community. I don't want them driving to Walmart. How much cash? We're really, the question is, how much cash does Fresh Foods need to provide? We're kind of waiting on your guys's, the co-op's capital campaign, and then we'll be there to step in with whatever else is needed. Okay, so that first question, yes, we can source those low cost generic brands. And part of this goes back to our wholesaler relationships. We are a member of a co-op ourselves. We own URM out of Spokane. That is our primary wholesaler, and they provide a private label brand of generic product at low cost. So we definitely have that opportunity if that's what the board decides that it wants to do. Are you committed to supplying locally grown produce? Absolutely. The more we can get, the better. Understand the seasonality that's involved with that is that, hey, in the winter months, we still want to have cucumbers. We might have to source those from, doesn't mean they can't be organic. Doesn't mean they can't be, as local as possible, but we may have to shift our product selection from time to time. But in the summer, when we're there, absolutely, as much as we can get. As to the local products, bring us the vendors. We'll get them on the shelf. They may not have UPCs generated. We'll do the work for them. We'll get them tagged up so they can scan at the registers and get them out. That's our whole goal, is to bring in those things. A lot of those things, those products, as you guys know, end up being better than the national commodity brands or even the high-end brands. So we're all about that. Like I said, we have 1 million of those partnerships intact. We use Long Bottom Coffee out of here to do our private label. We partner with Sleepy Monk, which just closed their brick and mortar, but we're still using them to provide all our wholesale coffee at our stores. So we'll keep that name going for as long as we need to. And we plan on bringing them out here too. The list goes on and on. Angora Peak granola, every category, we want it, every category, every set in the store to include local product. That is our goal. Some of the categories get a little more, challenging, cookies, crackers, but for the most part, all those other things, we can find those vendors. And I know we can especially find them out here as we're closer to more populous and more of these local producers. Pricing, let's talk about that. So at the end of the day, that goes back to business 101. That bottom line's got to be at a certain point. It's not necessarily the bottom line that has to be there. It's that gross profit number that's going to cover all that overhead and bills. So that gross is driven by volume. It's the direct converse of where your sales are at, what your gross is going to be, is going to let you know what you can pay. We know right off the bat, we're going to have a rent rate and we're going to have some debt service on our TI and inventory. So once we cover those two numbers, we can set that rate to as competitive as possible is our goal. Like I said, I just said it earlier, we don't want our customer to have to go to Walmart. We don't want them to have to go wherever it is to get something else, market of choice. We'd rather have that same product at that same competitive price and be closer to their homes. So that's how we view that. On that note, our stores on the coast are set with different profit margins based upon their market. Seabrook is a little bit higher. It's a more exclusive community. Manzanita is much lower so that we can still have a balance out there. And then how do we monitor pricing? So pricing in the grocery world, so you guys know, is based usually upon what we call zone. Zone pricing is where our wholesalers will direct us, hey, price zone 0 is Portland, Fred Meyer, in downtown where there's 1 million people populace. They have 5 competitors within a mile range, and they have to be absolutely teetering on that cost plus program. As you branch out, the zones go higher. That's kind of where you determine where your margin is versus your competition. And then obviously based upon your needs as well. So we would consult directly with the co-op and say, hey, what do you guys think this balance is of where we're meeting our needs, where our zone should be at, and what's fair to our customer. How do we see co-op member owners affecting the way the store is run? We're going to take their input, and hopefully you guys are providing that to the co-op, because then we're going to listen to what they want, and then the only buck back we're going to give them is the reality of implementing that. It can be good, it can be bad, and then once we have that information and we've had that conversation, we can move forward with a better product, I believe, and they can let everyone know in a transparent way of why we're going with that decision, which is the most important thing.
Like comment suggestion boxes in your other stores that sounds like
Absolutely.
Brian especially seems to monitor and respond to that.
One of our KPIs is customer reviews. So every week I'm going on Google, Yelp, good or bad, we're going over those reviews and facing the reality of it. So that's part of that drill. And the other way that I really see board members and co-op members affecting the store is how often we're going to, with technology, it's not that we're, big brother, but we're going to be tracking what their data shows us. There's systems out there that we utilize in Manzanita, Cannon, and Seabrook that we run our loyalty program through. So we can see what's those average visits? What are those average basket size? What are we doing wrong that they're not where we want them to be? So that's the whole data side that comes with it. And then going back to what you guys talked about, what are the benefits going to be as members? That's one of the ways that you administer those is you have a program like AppCard where everybody's phone number is linked to a profile that we can, if they provide that data voluntarily, we can see, okay, this zip codes, this area has given us this, etc. And we can do targeted marketing. We can provide that 10% discount for the co-op members by them just putting their phone number in, and it's seamless. Those are all the things that are available. We also run another technology program out in our stores that AppCard actually just acquired. It's called Shop to Cook Kiosk. Instead of printing an ad that needs to go out, we use all digital process on that. It's better for the environment. It's more engaging for the customers. They can come in, clip coupons on there. It goes on their account. When they buy that item at the register, automatically comes off. So there's just a ton of stuff out there that'll make it a very intuitive process and interactive with the customer and keep them engaged. The biggest thing that the member owners of the co-op can do for us is helping that marketing, which is get the word out that we're there and that we want them there as customers and that we provide good product. I think Alyssa talked earlier about, the committee that's going to drive the decision making. The good news is with a long build, we have time to get all of these things in place before we have to be executing them. My team will come with the expertise of already doing this 3 times over from ground up, but we'll have that opportunity to get together and really formulate what this is going to be. So we don't go through that twilight zone period when you open and you don't know what you are as a business and you got to figure it out real quick. We'll know exactly where our direction is from minute 1. How will conflicts of interest or major disagreements be resolved? That's a matter of communication. I don't think our values are far detached from what the co-ops are. So I think this is going to be a very easy partnership to maintain because I don't think we're going to have those conflicts. And you can say, oh, well, how do you know? You haven't been in these. I'm in those with our wholesalers right now. We work, we communicate, because if we get stuck, we're not moving forward. The goal is to move forward. I don't want to be stuck back here. I want to get to where we want to be and continue to move upward and outward. And like you said, what other experience do we have working with other partners? We have partners throughout. Like I said, we own our own wholesaler. I'm on the phone with those guys every day. My COOs are on the phone with, our produce wholesalers, beer and wine vendors all day. These are all partnerships. And if they're not partnerships, you're probably not getting the best deal. So part of that is something as simple as we have our own in-house beer and wine, and some of it from multiple vendors. And those are partnerships that we had to develop from ground up. And there's not a whole lot of stores that, especially independents, that have those type of things. But we're able to get on the phone with Narrows Brewing and say, hey, will you make us a can of beer? We'll run it at a great price and you'll move more product. And they're like, absolutely, sounds like a great idea. And it's just a simple matter of how well do you want to communicate and what's the compromise level. It's easy to sit there and stand high on what you want, but somebody else has needs too. And there has to at some point be a compromise so that you can both get to that level of solution that you want moving forward. So Seabrook's another great partnership that we have. And this is a big deal in terms of speaking to how we work with partnerships. But at the beginning, rent rate was rough. We had to go in and say, hey, this rent rate's not working. Can we work this out? And we were able to get to a much better deal. And now both of us are happier. So it's easy. To me, working through those things are easy. I've been doing this for 30 years. So okay. And so this kind of covered a lot of this, but we have a lot in common with what we're trying to do. The good news is we had to learn a lot of these things. You guys have seen them in action out here, but we brought a lot of these same type of things to the coast in terms of unique product, all that stuff. All you guys, all the co-op's going to do is help us get to an increased level of that quicker. The partnership will be a new entity that will get legally drafted up, and it's in the works already. And we'll set all those bylaws and operating agreements in place, just like any other process would be, with input from both sides. And, splitting costs so that we know, hey, this is exactly what we want. We both agree on it and we both move forward with it and adhere to it. And then.
Yeah, I can add. We'll have to like switch off on this a couple times, but I also want to add that myself and a couple other board members have been in weekly meetings with John and Brian. Is he the COO? Yeah. Brian. And we meet weekly. We talk about, how we're going to write the lease agreement. We've been negotiating with Coase, who is the developer, and Fresh Foods has been an amazing partner. They already know so much about lease negotiation and the market rates for rent and our expected profits. And so, that is something that we could not have done on our own. And I'll go into this in a little more depth when we start to answer some of the questions. But I just want to say, for those of you that, aren't aware, which is probably most of you, we've been, John and I hang out on a weekly basis for 30 minutes. And I can say that honestly, like the mission that they have and the more we learn about Fresh Foods, it's a great fit. And I think that the board would not enter into this agreement if we didn't think that we were doing right by the owners. And so, it's a decision that not everyone is going to agree with, but we feel that it's the way forward for us. And it's been such a pleasure to work with them. And they've taught us a lot already. With that, I also want to say that we did have back in, I think, like May, I had a small task force that, I sent out an email and said, does anyone want to help me with this? And we had a small task force to sort of flush out and make our vision statement and our sort of operating principles a little more clear. And so we developed that document. And that's something that we are going to share with Fresh Foods. You guys heard John say that he wants to sort of be the motor that propels our vision forward. And so that is something that we will also begin to, work on publicizing after, we can make sure that everyone's bought into that. So we have been doing some behind the scenes work as well to make sure that the co-op principles are being really carefully thought about as we enter into this, because I know that was one of the main concerns going into the partnership, would be sort of losing the essence of what a co-op is. And, this is a disclaimer. We are going to be working with lawyers in this partnership to make sure that everything is airtight. So what we say today may not be set in stone. It's certainly our goal. What we're talking about is all stuff that we're intending to do. But things do morph and change over time, especially when legal documents are involved. So just quick disclaimer on that. Here's a couple bullet points. I don't need to necessarily read all of this for you guys, but I think there's a lot of alignment in what Fresh Foods and HFC stands for already. And, you know, a lot of it is community, sustainability, health, fostering social equity and a sense of togetherness and belonging. So that's, you know, something that I think we both parties are concerned about and find very important. Go ahead. Here's a little bit of an infographic. I know sometimes people can absorb a little bit better through infographics. And so we kind of want to represent that, you know, Fresh Foods and HFC are creating a partnership. And for those who are not aware, an LLC can be formed and people can join. So like I could form an LLC with my brother. But also businesses can join as members of LLCs. So in this particular case, it would be the co-op joining the LLC with Fresh Foods. So just to clarify that, I think, you know, that's not abundantly clear to everyone necessarily. And so it wouldn't be that the co-op is suddenly non-existent. It wouldn't be that we're relinquishing our original business. The co-op is still the co-op, and we're just entering into an LLC agreement with another business. So when the profits get split, HFC is still an individual entity that can spend those profits as they see fit. And in some cases, that might be dividends for owners. And in other cases, it might be, you know, funding a cooking class in the store, or donating to a charity. There's a lot of things that could be done with those profits. And then Fresh Foods does what they want with theirs. And, you know, as John said, there may be some community efforts that they'll want to support with us. And then we also have the matter of voting rights. And you can see here the way we've done it is, you know, 49-51. However, you know, John talked about the more money that the co-op can bring, the better for him, right? The more cash he'll have left over to do other cool things with. So as a co-op, if we can bring more cash up front and fund more of the project costs, this changes this pie chart. So I don't think that it's necessarily a contentious bone that we need to argue over a lot, because I think we're already pretty aligned. But for those people who are wondering, you know, how is the voting rights split up? It will largely depend on what funding we bring to the deal. And I don't know if you heard back yet on any initial bid numbers, or is that anything you can share yet for TI?
Any day.
Any day. Okay. Yeah, I know, like we were initially projecting maybe a 4 million mark, which means, you know, maybe ideally if the co-op could bring 2 million and Fresh Foods could bring 2 million, that puts us as a pretty equal split. But again, we have to wait for construction costs are constantly changing. We have to wait and see what that number comes back at. And then, you know, we're going to set a lofty goal and we're going to try to meet it. And if we don't, you know, we're still going to have a great partnership. And I think that's what's important. Next slide, please. I also want to, you know, cover, I think this is going to answer some of the questions that the survey had, but we as a co-op board had put a lot of work over the years into market studies and pro formas that were performed by professionals who have done this for other co-ops in the past. And it was estimated that we could probably only support a 7,000 square foot store on our own, and that it would probably take us close to 7 years to turn a profit. That's not great. And so with a partnership, we are looking at about a 16,000 square foot store. We have all this built-in grocery expertise that we're not learning ourselves. And, you know, they have motivation as well as us to be profitable as soon as possible. So I think that our odds are much better as a partner. And I think that's just something that's really important to recognize. We also have the ability to get in on the Block 67 location. Coase is developing that regardless of our timeline. And as a co-op, a standalone co-op, we probably would not be able to meet this schedule and secure this location without the partnership that we have now. Next slide. What doesn't change? Capital campaign still targets fundraising for about 2.5 million. And to be honest, we probably would be spending more if it was on our own. This will primarily come from owner loans and preferred share sales. We also are looking into grants. And, you know, we're still comprised of members and owners who get a vote. We still have community values and we still have the same vision. So that won't be changing. Go ahead, next slide, please. Store location will be between Southeast 6th and 7th and Baseline in Washington. For those of you not yet familiar with Block 67, it's also the location of the former Hank's Thriftway, which we now have a original paper bag from that we can hopefully hang in our store. Yeah. Oh, amazing. That would be amazing. Next slide, please. So these are some partnership survey questions. John, when you want to talk, like just feel free to, we can go back and forth on this. In fact, I'm gonna let you take this first one because I've already heard the answer from you.
So number one, we're already there. You guys know where wages are going, and while it makes a very difficult challenge on a business in terms of its labor line item, it's also a reality that our employees are living in the same world. A gallon of milk costs what a gallon of milk costs, and it's not cheap. It's not as cheap as it was 5 years ago. So we understand that our goal is to compensate our employees as best we can with not only the wage, but the benefit side as well. Our employees out on the coast have the full benefits package of medical, dental, vision, life insurance, supplemental insurance, 401ks, and bonuses. Bonuses is a big one. I just got done with our after year party up in Seabrook where we were able to distribute $10,000 worth of bonuses to our 17 employees up there. So, we just did 2 weeks ago in Manzanita and Cannon. So that's when I say it's not about the profits, it's about the success. And our success is only as good as our employees' success. So one of the big things, having been through this, where my staff's at close to 100 people now, is you learn how to onboard a team, build a team, and find out who's going to be on your team, moving in alignment with you to where you want to get, and you reward those people. So that's our big thing is being as fair as we can to our employees, because I can't put all the cans on the shelf anymore. When I was 21, I probably could, but those days are gone.
All right. And I think for the second one, how does the partnership with Fresh Foods align with cooperative principles? I hope that a lot of the previous slides have covered that. I think if there's additional questions, we can take some afterwards. If you have questions on like specific things, maybe cultural questions for Fresh Foods about what it's like to work in their store, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, we've learned a lot about Fresh Foods in terms of the local companies that they use for their private label, their desire to buy from our local farms. So I think that we are very much on the same page there. And that's going to be, again, continually evolving as we, develop the store and the management. Division of responsibilities between the co-op and Fresh Foods. I honestly don't really know the answer to that. I don't know if you do, but again, evolving.
So just from where we're at right now, I look at those responsibilities of the co-op providing us the mission and vision, and then Fresh Foods will come in and do the execution side of it in a sustainable manner. In terms of the membership of the co-op, I really look at them as providing us with that data to market, whether that's within the community, however it is, give us what we need to send out to market and provide us the info that will make us a better business as a whole.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think that as a board, so currently, we don't have a store, so we have positions on the board that relate to the duties that we're doing now. When there's a store open, I would expect some of those duties to morph and change. So I don't think it would be beyond reason to expect that one or two of the board positions is going to, strictly be like liaison to the general manager or something like that. We're going to need a committee to help us, be a go-between between the co-op and Fresh Foods and the daily operation of the store. So I do expect that it's one of those things where, like, if there's someone on our end that is interested in learning the grocery end, that's going to be an option. But again, the board is not necessarily in charge of the day-to-day operations of the store. That would be the general manager, whether or not we're a partner or not. So I think that, the board will be involved in different ways. And I think the owners will be involved in different ways. And that just is something that we'll have to, it will be a living, breathing thing, and it will be evolving as time goes on. Is it an option in the future for HFC to buy out Fresh Foods? I don't know what John's thoughts are. I think the co-op is probably going to say, hey, in the LLC agreement, could we get first right of refusal if, you guys decided your stores elsewhere need your attention and you don't want to be in Hillsborough anymore? Could we buy you out?
Absolutely. So the first thing is getting the store stabilized. My goal is to have everything stabilized within 1 year. The criteria for this to even happen, you're going to need about 3 years worth of books before the co-op could go to the bank potentially and obtain the loan that would buy our shares out. if that is truly the co-op's desire to be a standalone down the road, Fresh Foods is not going to stop them from doing that. We have plenty of opportunities in our own back pocket that we could go chase if the co-op was healthy and we thought that they would be able to move forward in a sustainable fashion. So we would not stop that at all.
Yeah, and I want to also add to that, there's nothing that would preclude the co-op from opening another store if everything's going really well. Maybe there's another spot where we could have a smaller location or something like that. We would have to see, of course, if the city could support another grocery store, but that's also, not out of the realm of possibility. Is this going to be a long-term partnership, or will it eventually break into one entity, owning and running the entire thing? I think the question there is like, will Fresh Foods disappear at some point, or will HFC disappear at some point? And the answer is probably not, unless we all consciously decide for that to happen. I think if the partnership is going well and the store is doing well, and as long as Fresh Foods, wants to focus energy here, the partnership would continue. HFC, unless all the owners for some reason no longer wanted to be involved in a store, I don't think that the board would necessarily exit from the deal. So no, the plan is not to break apart or not be long-term, essentially. Do I have anything else to add to that? I'll let John. Do you have anything?
I have nothing.
Okay. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. I'm going to speed through this because I want to make sure we have some extra time. As of now, the developer is telling us, who we also meet with every other week, they're hoping to finish securing their last bit of loans and start in March. And the grocery store is expected to take their project is expected to take about 2 years to build. They are hoping to get us into the store before the rest of the building opens. However, if we can get permitted and inspected at the end, they could still be working on the higher floors, but we could start getting the store open for business potentially a few months early. So again, construction is very volatile, so we will have to wait and see how that goes, but that's the projection. Legal documents are being detailed and sorted out between us and Fresh Foods, and then Co's as well. We've been in lease negotiations with them. We are really happy with how those have been going recently. We're putting together a funding committee to apply for grants. Grants are something that we will probably need to help us sort of get from here through to the capital campaign. We have some extra expenses that we're going to have to pick up in that meantime. And then there are co-ops that get quite sizable grants before opening. So it could be that the capital campaign could be augmented by some of these grants. If you're interested in the funding committee, please email. We have volunteers at hillsborofood.coop. Come speak with one of us. Send up a flare, a carrier pigeon. We will take volunteers by any means we can get them. So yeah, if any of this sounds interesting to you, please, we could use your time and your talents. And we're right now setting our goal to raise about 2.5 million. So again, the more the better. And you got to set your sights somewhere. All right. So next, we're going to be preparing for our capital investment fundraising through a capital campaign. 50% traditional financing, 40% owner capital, partial capital from remaining equity reserves. And the cooperative model raises capital investment funds from the ownership base via loans or a preferred share program. These kind of end up getting a little bit technical, all the terms of these. So if you're interested in finding out more about those, I would really encourage you to either volunteer for the capital campaign or stand by for more information on that as the volunteers ramp up and we're able to publish that information out to the owners. All right, next. I think I don't want to beat a dead horse, but please volunteer and please sign up to join or tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your mama. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, at this point, it's kind of an all hands on deck thing. We have so many chefs in the kitchen right now with, maybe that wasn't the right expression, so many coals in the fire. We've got the capital campaign, we've got our partnership, we've got the agreements with the developer. we've got outreach, we've got events, we've got grants and fundraising. So there's just so many things that have to be executed simultaneously right now for us to cross the finish line. So volunteering is extremely important now. And if you don't have time to volunteer, but you can just tell a few people about becoming owners, that's also helpful as well. Jess, is there one more slide? Sorry. Okay, so the board will be here. We'll hang out for about 7:30, maybe a little after. So if you guys have burning questions, please come ask. I think we also might have some questions that pop up in the chat. You guys can leave as you need to, and we'll try to answer everything. Again, whatever doesn't get answered from the survey, we will also be updating our website FAQ with hopefully answers to all of that stuff.
Do we have any questions? One question in the chat, if I could get that out of the way.
Oh, wait, let me just announce first that there's an outreach meeting February 11th at 6 p.m. at Tall Trees Tap House. So that's another just great opportunity to kind of just like get updates on what's going on and potentially volunteer if you want. There's the potential of a Hillsborough Winter Farmers Market. So we might also have some news about that as well. So yes, let's do the chat question.
Okay, so question number one. Hillsborough is one of the most diverse cities in Oregon. How will Fresh Foods source foods to meet the food dietary needs of an incredibly diverse community? Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Okay. Hillsborough is an incredibly diverse community. How will Fresh Foods, and I think maybe the partnership in general, source foods to meet the dietary needs of the diverse community? Yeah. Okay. I think I got it all. You want to talk to that a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. So being in business, one thing we learned was don't put all your eggs in one basket. So in terms of wholesalers and providers, we have contract negotiation, supplier agreements with almost everybody out there. Do we use them all the time? Not necessarily, but they're always in the back pocket. So that includes KeHE, United Natural Foods, URM. There's just a multitude. I actually just met with a global importers today over in the east side of Portland. So we have all those connections already in place. It's just a matter of utilizing to whatever extent we need to utilize them.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think would come from what John mentioned earlier about the board and the co-op owners sort of trying to drive the direction of the store. I think that the board will have to devise ways to get that information, find out what needs are not being met, and then figuring out what those things are that Fresh Foods can help us with. There's a lot of different communities that have different diets, and then there's a lot of preferences as well. There's people that are vegan. We also have people with medical needs, diabetes, and can we offer products that cater to those people? So I think that there's going to be a significant amount of outreach involved to kind of glean that information. And I think some of it will probably be in the form of comment cards, but some might also be like surveys and outreach that we try to do separately to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our owners. So again, like if we don't get feedback, there's only so much we can do. But I think that trying to also, take advantage of the data that's already out there. The city has demographic data. We also did a market study that, was done professionally to kind of describe the population in Hillsborough. And so there's a lot of different pieces of the puzzle that we'll have to fit together to figure that out. But I think ultimately it comes down to, can the co-op identify those needs? And then Fresh Foods can help us execute on them.
There's just one
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
I think it'll just be a good touch of clarity because I know John has talked about helping us execute. So there's a question on, does the board run the store or does the board choose someone to run the store? So I think this is a point of clarity on like who's the general manager, those day-to-day operations.
Yeah, there will be a general manager, and I don't know if John, you want to speak specifically about your process for like seeking them out, or if you would prefer to use someone that you already have, or So the LLC runs the store.
You know what I mean?
The LLC.
Correct. So as Alyssa was stating, so HFC's board will compile all their data, their requests, their concerns. Then our joint committee will meet, iron out all those things, and execute. My team, so my C-suite, will be overseeing the 5 pillars of the business in terms of our personnel, our operations, our finance, et cetera, marketing. And that's where we'll be involved in running those, but executing what the combined board has decided to, maneuver.
So if I co-op, I want to work at co-op and actually.
No.
You're going to be Hillsborough Community Grocers.
So whatever we end up, we don't have a name for the LLC yet. And this is getting a little more technical, but whatever the LLC is named is not necessarily what the store will be named. Usually a store is like a DBA or something like that, a doing business as, for those of you that don't know. So the way it works is the LLC owns and operates the store. The store will bring in profit and all of the bills will be paid from the LLC profits. So we're going to have to pay all of our workers. We're going to have to pay our loans, our lease, all of the bills. Then the two parties that are joining that are made up in the LLC.
We'll get a K1.
Yeah, exactly. So they'll have a portion of the profits and we'll have a portion of the profits after the bills are paid. So if you come to apply for a job, you'll be working for the LLC that owns the grocery store. Yeah. So it's kind of like like an overarching entity. If you kind of were thinking of it as a hierarchy, there's the LLC and then there's two members. But all of the bills and the costs and all that is covered by the umbrella of the LLC. Did that answer your question?
That makes sense.
Okay, yeah, it's a little, it's a little, yeah, it can be like,
Populate what's the different positions then with your team and I think it's
yeah, well, and I think we don't know all the answers to that yet.
And I could talk a little bit on that staffing just real quick. Is we plan on probably none of our current employees being the ones we get over here. So my HR team, they'll staff this thing from ground up, hopefully with experienced staff from out here in the Valley that understand the volume and all the operational side of it.
Yeah, and this is just now coming to my mind, but maybe there will be some sort of program where co-op owners will get, a first round of interviews or something. Like if we have a lot of people interested in working, which I don't know if that will be the case or not, but maybe we'll be able to, cater to that.
And one other point on that is both me and my CEO will be in the store every day for the first year. That's just that's a non-starter if we're not. So we'll be in there to make sure everything is as smooth as possible and that our general manager is trained up in the fashion that we know is efficient, fair to our employees in accomplishing the mission statements that we have.
All right. Are there any more questions from the chat, Annika? Okay, let's go in the back first.
I'm assuming you're familiar with Victoria co-op.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to know how you envision the similarities and what differences that like size, offering.
Yeah, the question is for those who are familiar with the Astoria co-op, how do we envision the similarities and the differences in terms of size and product and overall operations?
Absolutely. So size comparison, dang near equal. So some of the challenges, we want to be very, very likewise them. I think we can do a lot better on the local product than what they're doing. They're a little bit commoditized from their supplier that they're in bed with. They're a little bit more locked than we are. We're a little more fluid than they are in our operation. It's just a matter of finding those vendors like we talked about. The one thing that will be a challenge for us, and I'm going to ensure that it's not a challenge, is they're very heavy on the prepared food side of the house, and they do a very big business on that. Fresh Foods is going to get real good in the next 12 months at learning and developing that program, because that's our failure point out at the coast right now. So we're going to fix that. So we bring you guys a better product out here.
Yeah, like a deli style grab and go.
Yes, and on that note, so yeah, that prepared food grab and go is going to be huge in this site with the populace that immediately surrounds. And one of those things is we're waiting on the developer to let us know who the other tenants are so we can seize the opportunities that may be there unutilized. Like we don't plan on having a coffee bar, an espresso bar in the store right now, because we're waiting to find out, are they bringing in somebody? And obviously you don't want to compete with your neighbor. That's just bad business. So if we find out they're not bringing in a coffee vendor, we'll be in it.
I also want to add that we have been working on a floor plan, and this has been, John's team has been very instrumental in providing all of the information that we need for that in terms of like how many freezers and how big are they and how big should the deli counter be and how many shelves for beer and wine. And so I'm not sure if we're able to share that yet because we'd probably have to get clearance from the developer.
So as I wait on this TI stuff,
Yeah.
our team is going back over to make sure at URM as an in-store development, they're going to make sure it looks kosher before we.
Okay, good. Yeah. So I think that's another thing that we can look forward to is potentially sharing, a very close to final floor plan with you guys. So that will give you a little more to compare in terms of like other stores you've been in. You can kind of see and get a feel for like, okay, there's a deli and a produce section and all of that.
How many square feet is
Our space is a little over 16,000 square feet. I believe close to 13,000 is the actual retail.
So that was kind of a bombshell we just got 2 weeks ago. 17,300 square feet. Obviously, we're setting aside a decent amount of room for back room and some off the floor prep, but our retail space will probably be closer to about 13.5.
Karen, did you have a question?
So I have a lot of vendor questions. So other than members giving suggestions,
Mhm.
vendors, how are vendors sought? And like, will there be any collaboration between, for instance, vendors that are at Tuesday or Saturday market?
Yeah. Okay. So
If there is vendors that cross over, could we make some kind of indication for their booth at Tuesday market or Saturday market? This vendor contributes to Hillsborough Food Co-op because it would benefit each of the vendors and
Yeah.
to advertise for us.
yeah. Okay. For those listening on Zoom, the question was, let me know if I get this right. How will vendors be sought? And will there be any overlap between the Saturday and Tuesday markets? And is there a potential for like, if we use a vendor that also is at the market, maybe a sign or a plaque or something that says that they are also a vendor at the market, a supplier to the market. So sort of like a cross-pollinating advertising type. Yeah. I'll let John talk to that, but I also will say I think that question might be a little specific for now. I think that like that's a really good idea, and we haven't really fleshed out yet how the vendor relationships are going to look. I think that word of mouth from owners will be big. I think that a lot of vendors that the owners currently enjoy and patronize, like we should definitely start talking to them about it, in case they're unaware of the co-op as of yet. But I also have a feeling that as construction goes and it's obvious that there's a local grocery store, I'm hoping that some of those organically happen as well. And then I'll let John talk about maybe sourcing vendors.
So exactly what you said would be our first go-to is go to those farmers markets and tell them, hey, we'll provide you a brick and mortar spot on our shelves. And that goes so far as we have that arrangement out in Manzanita or Cannon right now. And it goes as far as, okay, this is just an example, but Sturm's Berry Farm's coming out on Friday to work the farmer's market. We strip Sturm's berries off the shelf that day and put up a sign that says, go buy them from them direct. So that vendor can make more money that day. So, but then the rest of the week, we're selling those berries. So that's how intuitive thinking can be into this process. So that would be thing number one. The next thing is with AI. That's the search capabilities to search around here for local producers and just going on Facebook, social medias and finding them. That's something we'll do extensively.
No, I'm here already. And by the way, I've already talked to Bobby about the coffee shop. Nice.
Good. We were hoping we would get one.
That's when I do all the farmers markets, that's that little bakery.
Uh-huh.
And so yeah, I met with Christy months ago when they did the block party.
Yes.
That
Yes.
afternoon, I was standing for like, and I'm like, hey, this is what I want to do.
Awesome.
So that, my husband thinks I'm
Okay. So for those of you at home, we have pilgrims
Yeah,
in the house saying that they are hopefully gonna
I want to do a
coffee shop.
stuff.
Sorry, what was your name? Karen? Karen. Okay. Yeah. Karen Pilgrim Taylor.
Small, and then bring my baby.
Okay. Yeah. So she has met with the developer and is hoping to open a store as well.
She says, "If
Amazing.
something comes out, I'm like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's great to hear.
By all means.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm on the board of directors at Washco Bikes. We're a nonprofit here.
Oh, awesome. Welcome.
And one of the things is our mission statement is providing places where people can bike to instead of driving the car down one or 2 miles to get the
Mhm.
groceries, whatever. We'd like to encourage more people to bike to places like the store. And we had that before Hanks was really well. I used to bike there all the time. And it's not convenient very many places around here now. But we have the whole north part of Hillsborough, we easily access to that store. So there's a big market. And one of the things we would be concerned with is that we're looking at people would have families, would have cargo bikes or families.
Yes,
would have
yes.
Bikes and stuff, and bikes with trailers, things like that. I have a little grocery shopping trailer that plugs into the back of my bike, and I just go in and shop that, come back up.
Yeah.
And then away I go. We would like to see, if possible, we put some input into the contractor to provide a really good bike parking facility. Hopefully something that's a covered parking that has a space for at least a couple of cargo bikes and maybe 10 or so regular bikes.
Sure.
Thereabouts with a canopy over it or something like that. It sure make that a lot more convenient for people like that. And I'm working with the city also to provide better bike routes to access downtown from various communities and stuff too.
Okay. And what was your name?
John Hagee.
John, I know you from Facebook. Okay, we have John from the board of directors for Washco Bikes, and he's asking about, just to briefly summarize, asking about parking for bicyclists, specifically cargo bikes for people with families or people that are going to be doing their shopping on the bikes. And funny enough, I had this comment also from the Salmonberry Bikes guy downtown. He stopped by the booth and asked the same question. And so I think that's a really valid point.
And we already provided that. I'm glad you
Yeah.
did the covered thing, because that's an easy amendment, but there is extensive sidewalk, drive-up area, and the bike section has
You just have to have
trailer
room for-
lead, yep.
Room for long.
Yeah, trailer
Cargo
lead.
bikes are ready.
Yeah.
That's already been addressed. So
Yeah, and I think it would be good to so there's probably a good amount of time between now and when that's actually that information matters. I know that the design has been into the city, but these things usually morph a little bit before they actually get finalized. And we have about 2 years of construction. But I think it would make sense to have some weigh in on that from people that use those types of bikes to at least review it, and maybe we can facilitate that with codes to say like, hey, we have shoppers saying that they want a bike and this is the size of their trailer, and et cetera, et cetera. What was I going to say?
People that don't have a car.
Yeah, yeah.
And this would be essential.
Yeah, and it would it would be really cool to have bike specific events too, which is something that in the future the co-op will have to think about. And like, could there be like a farmers market day, like bike parade type thing that we do between the store and the market or something like that? So I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Something like that.
Awesome. Karen, do you have another question?
yes. Do you know if the South Hillsborough development has another brochure coming in?
Besides Market of Choice?
Is that one already open?
It is, yes.
Okay, I just have to.
So the question was, does South Hillsborough have another market? Market of Choice is there and is open now. And I've been inside it. It looks very similar to New Seasons, in my opinion,
Okay.
if you're wondering.
It's happening so fast.
Yeah, it's a nice store. It's nice, but it's pricey.
That's right where I was before I came over.
Yeah.
That's why I was like 20 minutes to go.
Well, and to be honest too, if it's during the day, there's a lot of lights between there and here. So it can take a while. Yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful store. It is on the pricey side, but it is like they've got beautiful bulk bins and a really nice deli area. So yes, I encourage you to check it out. Yes, your name?
I'm Lisa.
Lisa, okay.
Great, amazing presentation. I have so many questions and almost none left at the end. Speaking of market choice, I used to live in the Cedar Mills area on the north side where there's the market choice. And
Mhm.
we loved it. And part of the reason why we loved it so much was because we had such a nice area to sit, you know, and it's
Yes.
very inviting.
Yes.
And it's a little curious about what you can preview for us, like how an area.
We have a cafe area.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and hopefully when the floor plan is available, like you guys are gonna be able to get eyes on that and sort of see what that looks like. Oh, this comment, by the way, said that she used to live in Cedar Hills and went to the market of choice over there. Cedar Mills, Cedar Hills, Cedar Mills area. Sorry, I've actually never been to that market of choice. Yeah, yeah.
That market of choice is one of the most beautiful stores on the planet.
It is nice.
$28
Yeah.
million bill. The CEO built that as a homage to himself, and I applaud him because it is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. I just picked up some bottles of boob on his house.
And I've actually been doing the supper club at Market of Choice. I don't know if you guys know about this, but it's like you order dinners and then you just go pick them up for the week. And so I hope that we can eventually have something like that because I would love to not drive over there. But it's like, yeah, you go online, you look at the menu. I can order like 3 dinners and then just go pick them all up Sunday night. So I'd like, that is something that I would love, you know, in terms of like the prepared food that we would have at our store. So I would lobby for that. Yeah, it comes in like aluminum trays and you stick it in the oven and it's like, you know, enchiladas or, you know, whatever. And it comes with like side salads and whatever, cornbread. Yeah, let's hear from you. We haven't heard from you yet.
Thank you for the presentation.
Of course.
After reading my co-op emails, I swear.
Oh, good.
So my family and I drove down there before Christmas and we happened to stop at the Fresh Foods on our way there to get groceries. And all of us were like, this is such a great store. It was my pleasure to shop there. I felt like the selection was wonderful. It was really well, I just really appreciated it. And I feel extremely excited and hopeful. It seems like a creative partnership and way to move forward. So I just want to thank everybody.
That's so good to hear. What's your name?
My name is
Emily.
Emily.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Yes.
That was our first store. We got a lot of work to do. I wish everybody could see the Seabrook store because it's on a totally different level. You know, we're going back and doing some refit in Manzanita this next year. We're going to make it that much better, but it's going to be better. And we'll start off better.
To summarize what Emily said, she was recently in the Manzanita store, the Fresh Foods, and said it was lovely, great selection, and she's very excited for this creative partnership. So that was awesome feedback, very encouraging. Thank you. Yep, go ahead.
Are there any lessons to learn from the demise of basic markets? Basic markets, they opened a new store at a low. At one point, they had about 2 markets. They have 1 market left, and they're now selling it to
Market of choice.
Yeah, I mean, they expanded. They had they were not a co-op. They had a fresh, healthy approach. You know, are there things that you could learn from the
Yeah.
I think the lesson to be learned from basics. If you guys know the history and the founder, he was one of the founders of New Seasons. So he knew what success looked like. And I know the man personally, worked with him in the past. Nothing bad against him, but I think that was one of those businesses that was a concept and it never got out of the Twilight Zone stage. And then when they went into some of those spaces, they were too big. The Aloha one was too big for what the concept they were trying to execute needed. And when you have all that size, you have all that overhead. And it eats you alive real quick. So that's the lesson to be learned from there. I always say, biggest lesson I have from my Manzanita store, I wouldn't have built it with 23-foot ceilings because when it's cold, you got to heat 23 feet of air.
All right. Do we have any more questions in this room? It didn't sound like we have any more in the chat. So if anyone here has a question, yeah, go for it.
Well, I mean, the OSU Extension Master Gardeners have had a large presence in the Hillsborough Farmers Market.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to get, some of those question and answer folks into our grocery?
The OSU
Extension service.
Extension Service Master Gardeners have had a presence at our markets. Is there any chance of getting them, repeat the last second part,
We'll have them available on.
have them available to answer questions?
Like in the store?
In the store, yeah.
Like gardening advice and yeah,
Gardening advice.
I would say like absolutely. And I think when it comes to like food co-op programming, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like the more you put into it, the more you get out. So if we have owners that want to get involved and maybe owners themselves want to teach a class on pickling, or maybe owners with connections to other organizations in the community, like Washco Bikes or OSU, like I think that we could facilitate those. And it's going to be either the owners coming to the board and suggesting it so that we can make it happen, or like volunteering themselves to make it happen. But I totally, yes, I totally agree.
And just a caveat on that, one of our things that we try to do more often than not, and it's a challenge at the coast getting everyone to drive out there, but being out here in the valley, you're a lot closer to the vendors and the producers, is to get the theatrics from having an event in the store. For example, in Cannon Beach, our private label wine is done by Mike Thayer at Pete's Mountain. His brother is Tommy Thayer, the guitarist of Kiss. So we brought Tommy in and he signed bottles of wine and we got 3,000 people in there that night. So these are the type of things, if you got the marketing and the ideas and the wherewithal, you can get them done, and it's a great event.
Not specifically,
Not specifically yet.
but I think there's some spaces that could double. I think it would be too expensive to waste the space that wouldn't be used, every day as a classroom. And there's a possibility that some, like one of the back of house rooms too could be like convertible as well, maybe.
To that point, we do that in Cannon Beach, the cafe seating area. They do cooking classes in there once a week,
Yeah,
So
I would hope that it could be sort of a convertible space.
it
Yeah.
does go to that dollar per square foot thing that you talked about. That's the business side of the house that you're balancing.
And another thing that I think would be great is like we have a lot of local farm support already. Like Stoneboat is a huge, they are very excited for the co-op, and I know there's other farms as well. But it'd be really fun to get like recipes from them using their produce and having that just on the shelf right next to the zucchini or whatever. Aaron at Stoneboat early in their years, like he would send home a recipe every single week, and I actually saved them all. So I'm hoping like maybe we could like publish a book or something. So yeah, that's an idea. Yeah, go ahead.
Are you worried about parking and making sure that there's enough control?
That's a really good question. We do not have control of that yet. So there's a set amount of parking, and that was conceived of and it's being executed by the developer. And some of those requirements are based on city requirements. We don't have there's some dedicated parking spaces. It's not a huge lot. We have the street parking, we have public transportation. So the answer is kind of yes and no.
Yeah.
Yes, the bikes, yeah.
So in the plans currently, as Alyssa stated, there's parking. It's about double what we have in our Manzanita location. So it's approaching 90 spots. I look at that as being enough, but the good news would be that it's not enough. The other side of the house is with the format that we run in our size, our customers can get in and out and do the whole store in 20 minutes. And that's taking their time. We're not like Walmart or Fred Meyer where you walk in there, you got just to walk every aisle is an hour long investment of time. So that's our goal, is that we'll have a lot of walk up from the overhead, as well as, that won't be tying up those spots, and then people biking in. I think we're going to be all right. If we exceed that, we're in a really good situation.
Yes, there's a lot of,
Going to be organic.
yeah. And the question was about parking capacity, and sorry if I was a little negative on that. I didn't, I guess for like a regular Joe, I don't know how many parking spots is good, but
114 units of parking.
yes, but some of that is not for us. Yeah. Yeah. My hope is that between the walking traffic and potentially people on public, it's not far from the max. And this will be the first store that like I live up by Glencoe High. and I'm hoping to ride my bike there. Like it's the first store that I'm going to be able to ride to with my kids. So yeah, I'm hoping that like that will be a thing. But yeah, like I feel like if you're just on your way home and you're like, oh, I better stop in the store really quick, and then you're going to swing by at like 5 p.m., maybe there'll be some difficulty. I don't know. It's a good thing. If all the parking spots are filled, that means we hopefully are doing great. Yeah. Let's get the time. Okay, we're past 7:30. I think, can everyone stay for a few more minutes, or do we have to be out of this room?
We can stay.
Okay, we can stay in the room. Okay. Did I see a hand up in the back? Oh, yep, go ahead.
Don't be offended, but what's in it for fresh food for you? Like, what are you getting out of it? Like, if you're giving an awful lot, so isn't it?
Well, this will be the HFC powered by Fresh Foods. Like I said, we wanted to get our name out here and get a little more recognition before we started infiltrating, because there's a little town over there with the initials NP that we have some envisionment on. So that's one of them. And then there's a few down in wine country that we're looking at. So we want the exposure, and we also want the experience of, okay, what is it like when you have populace that's bigger than 632 people? So there's that. And then the other side of it is what we're providing to the co-op and the operation out here, we're also going to get back there. So we're going to learn about a whole nother set of vendors we can get on our shelves out there and make ourselves more distinct, as well as we're going to increase our buying power, not only with our own wholesaler, but all of our other supplier agreements. And when we bring that provides a whole different level of financial stability. So those are the mutually beneficial components.
Oh, well, so the previous president of the board was Brandon, and I hope he's on Zoom right now, maybe. And then another board member who's not here tonight, Tim. They approached John because we knew that the city was looking for a grocery store at that location. And the history of Block 67 is that there was a different developer that wanted to develop it. They put in a proposal and it was accepted. And they had Fresh Foods on their bill as being the grocery store to fulfill that city need. That project fell through. They didn't build fast enough, and the city said, well, we're putting it out to bid again. So Coase, the current developer, is now, they've permitted, they won the award there. And so we already knew about Fresh Foods from the previous, like we were already trying to work with them from the previous. So we basically just said, and Brandon and Tim at the time were saying like, hey, let's get in talks about this and let's partner. And so that was where it originally started. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but Brandon has since moved on from his position on the board. But he was like very instrumental, him and Tim, in getting this thing off the ground. And so we're just kind of picking up his work. And I feel lucky that I inherited that, because otherwise we might not have a food co-op. HFC might not be a thing anymore, simply because we were just running low on motivation and volunteers and cash. And so, this has been really great. And I feel lucky to have come to the board at a time when I could, work with Fresh Foods and see all your beautiful faces and make this happen. We had one question. Let me see. I was looking on here to see if I answered all the questions. I think we answered most of the ones on the sheet. Are there more questions in the room? I just want to make sure we got all the survey questions answered. Yeah. That's so good to hear. Thank you. Amazing. Thank you for coming. One of the questions was, does it jeopardize our nonprofit status? I think we cover that in the slides. We are not a nonprofit. Just want to make sure everyone knows that. I think we answered most of the survey questions. Yeah, I think we did it. Anyone else? Going, gone. Thank you so much. Oh, one more. Oh, just come on up here and we'll take your, or yeah, go back. Nicole has a clipboard and we'll get your email entered. Are you a new member or an existing member? Oh, you haven't joined yet. Oh, you can sign up tonight. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it. We were happy to hear your questions. Keep an eye out for our new and updated FAQ if you want to reread any of this. Thank you. Have a great evening.